My name is Taya DeYoung, and I'm a member of the North Seattle Progressives Health and Wellness Subcommittee. And we have three panelists to present to you today, talking about universal health care at the federal level and the state level, what we can do right away today and what we can do in the coming days, and what our long-term goals are for really keeping this movement going, really growing the movement. So you will, those of you who are new to our group, North Seattle Progressives is a group that is definitely doing a lot of action. We are out there making stuff happen, doorbelling, doing education and outreach. And last week, we agreed to join the Healthcare is a Human Right Coalition for Washington State because we strongly believe in all of these principles. We really believe that this is what we want for everyone. We believe that health equity matters and that we need to be fighting for these things at every level. So along those lines, what we like about the coalition is that, you know, many hands make light work, and so this is a way for all of the healthcare organizations in our area to come together and work together. And this panel discussion is kind of a little taste of that, because we have representatives from, go back one slide. So basically, these are all of the organizations that have been working with healthcare as a human right. They are remobilizing. They are basically reinvigorating the movement to try to work more on the universal health care right now. So these are all organizations that have partnered with in the coalition. And then the next slide is basically the groups that we have here with us today. So we'll have speakers from Physicians for a National Health Plan Western Washington and Healthcare for All. And Whole Washington talking to you today about how all of these pieces fit together to really make things happen in Washington State, and how Washington State can really influence what happens at the federal level. So I wanted to also, just before we move on to talking about our panelists, I wanted everyone who's on the healthcare committee to raise their hands one more time. And then I also wanted to say that although Pam Dallin is not standing up here with me tonight, right now, she has been absolutely instrumental in all the things that our health and wellness group has done. And she's been, you know, a really big part of keeping me active and really keeping me inspired. So I just wanted to remind everyone that we have, our health and wellness group is a really strong group. We work hard together and partnership with each other, and we have a lot of leaders in our group. So I just didn't want, I'm standing here alone, and that was not the original plan.
Stand up here.
But I want everyone to know it's absolutely a group effort. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just introduce the panelists by name, and then I will give a kind of an overview for each panelist as they begin their presentations. So we have Kathleen Randall, who is a member of the Physicians for a National Health Plan Western Washington Board, and she's been with them since 2006. And she's going to be talking to us primarily about the National Improved Medicare for All announcement and what that means for the universal health care movement. George Davenport at the back table there, she's here from Whole Washington, and she is the director and campaign manager for the 100% volunteer effort to pass universal health care. We've been working hard on that, and people who have been in North Seattle Progressives know that a lot of people in this group worked really hard on that. And then we have Marcia Stedman, who is the director of, and president, of Healthcare for All Washington. And she's been at it for a while too. And what I love about Healthcare for All is they are really working hard at the state legislative level. They are really talking to legislators, showing up at hearings, adding amendments. So something that you might hear later on is that they added amendments to some of the bills that weren't our first choice, but they're the ones that are going forward. And so they're very savvy at navigating the system and making things happen at the state legislative level. So I'm looking forward to hearing from her tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Kathleen Randall. She's our first speaker today. I'm going to read her full bio because this woman has Okay. Well, just for highlights, I'd just like to say that this is someone who has really examined the healthcare issue from every possible angle. So she has worked in hospitals and clinics. She has done the billing. She has done everything, and she has come to this advocacy with a lot of wonderful experience. I kind of want to read it. There's so much here. But we do also want to get to the content. So she's got a lot to tell us about Pramila Jayapal's National Improved Medicare for All and act. And I was wondering, would it be okay for us to watch the video? It's a 2-minute video?
Absolutely. It'd be perfect.
You want to share?
No, we're just gonna do them one at a time. Oh, let's see if we can watch a short video.
And here in front of the Capitol, I am about to go and
Technical difficulties.
The Medicare for All bill. I'm going to go drop it in the hopper, and then we're doing a press conference with members and patients and physicians and activists and unions, all of the people.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying to get it to actually
Bill,
show.
because today is the day that we say that the United States of America must guarantee health care to everyone in, nobody out. Today is the day that we are going to say we need to put patients over profits. Today is the day that we introduce Medicare for All. And we're really excited about this. We've spent a long time working on this bill. What it would do is it would say that everyone in the United States has access to health care. You can go see the same doctors, hospitals that you go to now, but instead of paying thousands of dollars to insurance companies, instead of having to worry about whether a hospital is in-network or out-of-network, instead of having to buy multiple plans to cover your basic healthcare needs, we are going to take care of all of that. And the average family is not going to have to spend thousands of dollars on emergencies. It's not going to have to think about foreclosing on their home or not being able to pay their rent, making unforgivable choices about health care. So this is a bold, ambitious plan. That's what everybody says. And you know, we're bold, ambitious people here in the United States of America. We have ended slavery. We have given women the right to vote. We've sent a man to the moon. So we certainly should be able to provide universal health care for everyone. It's not going to work unless we have you with us. And so today, this is a call. We have got to be absolutely strong, fight strong, stand strong, because we know that the insurance lobby and the pharmaceutical lobby, who are the only ones that profit out of this current system that we have, we know they're going to come at us with lots and lots of money. But what they don't have is hundreds of millions of people across this country who know that this is the right thing to do, it is the necessary thing to do, and it is what we should be doing in the richest country in the world. We should be able to provide health care for everyone. So we can't wait to have you with us. Join us for the press conference in just a little bit, and be with us as we push for Medicare for All and universal health care for everyone.
All right, so here to tell us a little bit more about the National Approved Medicare for All, we have Kathleen Randall.
And if you could put up those slides.
Yep, they're coming up next. Here's your mic.
Thank you. I'm just going to stand right here because you know what? This is a nice height for me. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for inviting me to join you. I've been involved with Physicians for a National Health Program since 2006, and I actually became a member then, I think. And I went to one of their annual public meetings at the University of Washington, where they were talking about just exactly what Pramila Jayapal has been talking about with this new bill. And the new bill has a number, so we could start calling it HR 1384. That's the new number. So it's no longer HR 676, HR 1384. That's our new gold star number. And about 2 years later, we went into this terrible slump. I went to a talk at Town Hall. It was actually a panel of people who were coming to say, what can we do to get through this horrible period where we're in this terrible spiraling economy? And they talked about everything under the sun. They talked about agriculture. They talked about economics. They talked about employment. And I just was so frustrated, and I couldn't figure out any way to even say what I thought. So I went up afterwards to the moderator and I said, you know, you've had these 4 people up here talking about how we're gonna get through this terrible time. And I said, the single most important thing that I think we could do is healthcare reform. We need to have healthcare reform with everybody covered. If we did that, we would lift that yoke of worry and anxiety off people's shoulders, and they would begin to look up and move forward. And he said, "Why didn't you say that?" And I said, "Because you guys were all over someplace else. I had no idea what you thought was important." Anyway. Okay, these are the qualities, and you saw those with the slide from Healthcare as a Human Right. But these are the things that we voted on in the state of Washington when the labor movement got together and went around the state and did, I believe they did 10. They scheduled 9 and did one extra one in Vancouver. And these were the most important things. And the first one was universal access. Second, affordability, availability, equity, equality. The quality that each person would receive the best healthcare that they could possibly have to achieve the highest level of wellness. Participation, accountability, and transparency. But there was one more, and that was portability. That was really important. Portability is really important to be able to go from one job to another, not lose your health care, maybe even go back to school for a little bit, get better educated so that you could have a higher level of earnings. But honestly, people are afraid to do that because they're afraid they're going to lose their health care, and that's terrible. Okay. The other aspects were that it covered everybody. I don't know that that's really important. Okay. With this particular plan, it establishes a 2-year transition period, and in the first year, the people who would be covered is everybody who is already on Medicare. Those people that are disabled, people like me, and people over 55 and under 19 would be added in the second year. And by the end of 2 years, we would have everybody in the United States covered. Not everybody who is a resident. That was the first iteration of the bill, but I heard her say very clearly, she presented this bill, anybody who resides in the United States. And so that's a big difference. Resident was a real sticking point. And because she's an immigrant, I think she's the one who can really speak to that. That's really cool. And then the benefits, there's a whole package of benefits. I don't know. Here they are. Inpatient, outpatient, ER, prescriptions, ambulatory patients who can walk in and walk out, primary preventive services, drugs, medical devices, biological products, mental health. Yay! We got to cheer for that one. Laboratory and diagnostic services, comprehensive reproduction, maternity, newborn care. Oh my goodness.
That wasn't on the original bill, but that got added
No,
this time.
it did.
It's improved.
And I don't believe it's in Bernie's bill.
No, I don't believe it.
Yeah, so think about that. Okay. Pediatric services, dental, audiology, vision. My girlfriend, I used to work with it at Overlake. She used to say, well, you know, once you're 65, you don't need to see anymore. You don't need to be able to walk. It's not important that you hear. And you don't need to eat because you don't get care for any of those things. I loved her. She was a great gal. And rehabilitative and habilitative services. Dietary, nutrition. How important is nutrition? It's fundamental to our health and well-being. How could we get more fundamental than nutrition, especially with developing babies and children? Podiatric care, emergency services, and transportation. I have to tell you, I wouldn't have thought that would be such an important thing, but when I worked at Overlake, we used to have a problem. We would have people who were vets who would come into the hospital to get care for some problem, whatever it was. And we'd say, well, we're gonna, transfer you over to the vets. And they wouldn't take them, they wouldn't pay for their care. Because they had to come in by ambulance in order to be eligible to stay on their veterans insurance. I couldn't believe it. And so somehow that's important, and I think that we need to really consider that. Some people don't get care because they can't get there. Maybe they live too far out. When I worked at Children's, they had, we did a study of response times. And in the city of Seattle, I gotta tell you, it was less than 2.5 minutes. You could get somebody there to take care of you. In Eastern Washington, the longest time was 2 hours and 53 minutes. Can you imagine that? 2 hours and 53 minutes to get somebody to come in an emergency when you're dying. So that was really concerning to me. And understanding that transportation is important, it's probably more important in our east side of the east side of the mountains than it is for us, but still, it's a big issue. Let's see, long-term care.
Woo!
Isn't that a miracle?
It is a miracle.
Oh my goodness, you know what? We're all getting older. And at some point, we're probably all gonna need some help. And we can get it in our homes. We can get it in, to have somebody come in temporarily, or a live-in, or in a nursing facility, depending upon the level of care that we require. And the most important thing is that it's medically necessary. Okay, there we go. Exclusions. It has to be medically necessary. There you go. Experimental items and services, they can actually access those. They just have to get permission to do that. And I think that that's because we are always developing new products. We're always developing new protocols. When I worked at Children's, I worked for a doctor who did cystic fibrosis care. Do you know, when I first went to work for her, the average life of a cystic fibrosis patient was about 15. And now they live to be 30, 40, 50, and it was about their treatment plan protocol that they changed. And so their lives have been prolonged. These kids didn't want to go to school. They didn't want to go to school. Why do I need to go to school? I'm not going to live past 15, 16, 17. And so they would kind of give up. But now there are, productive, working members of society, and that's just phenomenal. Here's another thing, this independent professional judgment. Because I've done not just denials and appeals, but also working on trying to get authorizations for care. There are often times when the physician disagrees with the insurance company. And the problem with that is they have to fight in order to get care for their patients. Nancy, I forget her last name. She's a nurse who worked for the Northwest Kidney Center. She used to just fight and fight and fight all day long. She'd be on the telephone fighting to get, care for these dialysis for these patients that really needed it. And it was just nuts because they're gonna die. They really need to have this care. And I just loved it that she would be such a fighter for that, but I think that's how this got into this bill. People who have spent all day long fighting to provide care to their patients that they know will either save their lives or improve the quality of their lives for the rest of their life. It just is incredible. So they actually wrote it in, and so that's fabulous. And let's see, they do have standard guidelines, and we want to have the highest quality standards. Insurance companies don't care. Theirs is a profit-oriented business, and their standard of care is what makes the insurance company the most amount of money,
Yep.
so that they can pay out the most amount of dividends to their shareholders, and they will continue to be invested in by other people. And so and that is their business model, and we need to respect that and understand it. But we don't have to let it be the driving force for healthcare.
Right.
Because this is not a commodity.
Right.
This is not a business.
No.
This is a right. It's a right, a human right. And long-term care, I think we would have a lot less people on the street. We'd have a lot less people who are living just on the margin of society, and much more able to participate and to be productive, healthy members of our community, if we had long-term care and if we had the kind of in-home care and services that might really help them. I'm kind of sensitive to that right now because I'm just putting my cousin into a long-term care facility next week, and it's kind of breaking my heart a little bit, but you know what? We've been so worried about her, it's been driving us all crazy. So we want to get her safe. So here are some of the other things. I don't know how important this is, but to you, I guess I would kind of like you to take a look at that and tell me what you would like to know about, because it's a lot of dense information.
Everybody will get a complete set of the slides too. I mean, 'cause this is
Yeah.
every single
These-
thing here helps us understand what's in this really amazing and very comprehensive bill.
It
So
is.
everyone who's here and is on the email list will get a copy of these slides if they would like them.
Yeah, but got a question?
So is there a pushback from physicians for the prohibiting bonuses and the incentive?
Oh, there will be.
Repeat the
Oh,
question,
yes.
please.
She said, is there going to be a pushback from physicians about not being able to have incentive payments, or, like Kaiser, their incentives are to provide the best care at the least cost. Well, if you're gonna get down to the least cost, you're probably gonna have a variation there in the quality of care from one thing to another. Yeah.
I would just point out, number 2, establishing the duty of patient advocacy. So in other words, it's restating that the primary relationship there is between the provider and the patient, and that other
Absolutely.
relationships, such as with the payment system being the insurance company, are secondary to the provider-patient relationship, which is exactly what it should be.
There is no insurance company relationship
Yep.
with this bill. It's our government. We are going to pay for our own care out of our taxes, out of our earnings, out of our labor, just like we always have. Either we do it individually, but what's happened is in our economy, we have this 1 and 2 and 10% even of the highest earners have just kind of, maybe I shouldn't use this word, they've taken advantage of the other 90%. And the other 90% can't afford that level of care. They can't afford to have that kind of service. So at this point, we have to do something that changes that. And so there is not going to be an incentive anymore for physicians to either not provide care or to provide a lower level of care when their primary goal, as you point out, is to be an advocate and to be the provider of the best care that they can, and that we can afford, and we can afford a lot. Yeah.
Well, that sort of speaks to my question, and that the polls and articles I've read say that it's an overwhelming majority of people are in favor of universal health care, when they think their taxes are gonna rise, the approval rate drops to around 50%
Good.
or less.
It's a really
So
good
do you have
question.
a strategy for dealing with that? A specific strategy rather than the government's gonna take care of it? Yeah. And then a sort of a corollary is, a lot of people are happy with their private insurance. So how are you going to reassure them that the insurance they're getting now that they're happy with in a universal system, they'll be equally happy?
Okay. Okay, that's a two-part question. The first part of it has to do with taxes. And if you think about the money that we're taxed on, it goes to the government first. They get first dollars. So we don't have first dollars. And where we're going to wind up saving is that we'll have those dollars at our hands. And they'll go into, they'll go in through the tax system at a slightly elevated rate as an employee. And for the rest of us, or whether for self-employed or if we pay as a, what's the word I want to say, as a business, as if we're our own business owner, then those will be dollars that will seem like they're elevated at first, but then we're not paying for health care at all. We don't have to worry about having a copay, a deductible, a cost share. And so overall, we're going to wind up paying a lot less. Those people that are employed and have health plans, they can no longer provide health plans that duplicate these services. They can no longer do that. If they want to have additional, they can do that. But they can no longer duplicate these services. The employers can't, and there'll be no private insurance that can. Yeah.
American businesses bear the brunt of our health care right now. They're not raising our prices, our wages. They're trying to deal with the health care they promised to provide, and they are whittling away at it. This way, our businesses will be much more competitive worldwide because the health care dollars won't be going to the $168 billion of profit that United Healthcare had in 2017, just 1 year after Trump got into office. That money will be going into health care, and it's going to make a huge difference. My son pays around $12,000 a year in a year that he has to use his health care for anything intensive, and he would be paying so much less than that into the healthcare system. So that's a lot of crock.
Yeah, how about right here?
Now, I would predict that if we give top-notch health care to each and everybody, obviously we would need to expand the capacities. We have to probably build more hospitals, more facilities, and that will cost a lot. And plus, of course, and that cannot be done overnight. So I wonder how the bill addresses that. And also cost containment. I think doctors in this country make, in many cases, too much money. If I compare, I'm from Germany. Doctors make maybe a third there than here. And operations cost sometimes a tenth of what they cost here if you were to pay in cash, right? Compared.
Give the guy the microphone.
So I just wanted, just to repeat my question, I don't know, I haven't obviously read the whole thing, and maybe we come to that, but my question is that if we want to give top-notch healthcare to everybody, we obviously have to expand the capacities. We have to build more hospitals, more facilities, and that has to be financed somehow, and I'm not against that, I'm just saying, is that being addressed? And also, cost containment, I believe that a lot of specialist doctors in this country make too much money. Why does a radiologist make $500,000 a year? Why? And of course the pharmaceuticals too. So I wonder if those items are being addressed in that bill.
Okay, yeah, it is a good question. I understand that the health authority, the HHS, will have will have regions set up. And so we're going to see a lot of our facilities being managed a lot more by the regional necessity. So rural communities are likely to see a tremendous increase for them in facilities being built. Now, when they built the Swedish Issaquah facility, they had this waterfall that came down in the lobby. And I don't imagine we're probably going to see a lot of facilities like that being built.
And you know what? It won't affect our healthcare a bit.
Exactly, exactly. And so I think that we really need to think about what we need and then be more responsible in terms of utilizing those resources. And I'm sure that that's what's going to happen. Regionally, we will see more facilities built, but probably they'll be smaller, more strategically placed so that there's less distance between the amount of time it takes for a patient to get there and between the availability of services to reach them.
I'm noticing that there were a lot of hands, so what I'm going to suggest, since I want to make sure we get through all of the speakers, and then we will probably still have time, if we're careful and we budget our time well, we'll still have time for questions at the end. I think I'd like to take one more question now and then move on to the next speaker, and then I think that if we budget our time well, that we will have time for more questions at the end of all of our panelists. So,
can we just finish answering this one?
When your voice trails off.
I'm sorry.
I'm missing what you're,
Would you make-
first and then it trails off, and I don't know what
I
you're saying.
apologize. Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to just finish his question though. And the second part of that had to do with physician salaries. There will be something of a comeuppance about that. And I'm sure that there will be a great gnashing of teeth and a grinding. But I think also my understanding of most physicians is that they went into medicine to make a difference, make a positive difference in this world. And I think most physicians would be thrilled to be able to continue to provide the kind of care that they want without all the crap that they have to go through to be able to treat a patient today. They don't need a grandiose facility. They want maybe better instrumentation, maybe, do we have to have an MRI every other block on First Hill? We don't need all that. We need to be smart about what we do. And so I think that they will agree, and probably they'll want to jump in and be part of that process. So they'll manage themselves. That's my understanding. And if I didn't work for a doctor that behaved like that, I wouldn't work for him. Yeah.
thank you very much, Kathleen. All right, so our next panelist, Georgia Davenport, here she comes. I'm going to read your bio.